Today, we're diving into something super fascinating, the anatomy of a market. And look, I don't want you to think of a market as just some dry, boring graph from an old textbook. Nah. Think of it more like a living, breathing organism. It's got a cellular structure, it constantly seeks this natural state of balance. And man, it reacts, often totally unpredictably, when outside forces intervene. So we're gonna map out exactly how it functions at its absolute peak, and, well, what happens when it breaks.
Okay, let's just quickly run through our roadmap for today. We've got a really logical journey ahead of us. First up, the foundation of value. Then, achieving economic efficiency. From there, we'll look at intervening with price controls. And finally, the cost of interference. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. The foundation of value. The atomic level of a transaction. To really understand the whole picture, we absolutely have to start right here, at the base. So I want you to think about your own daily economic decisions for a second. What actually drives every single purchase you make? Like, what literally motivates you to pull out your wallet? Whether it's just grabbing your morning coffee or dropping serious cash on a new laptop, every single buy is driven by this rapid, almost totally subconscious calculation between two opposing forces. And here are those two forces. You, the buyer, experience what we call marginal benefit. Basically, that's the maximum value or utility you expect to get from buying one more of something. Now, on the flip side, the businesses you buy from experience marginal cost, which is their absolute bare minimum acceptable price to actually produce that thing. A transaction only happens, it only fires, when your marginal benefit completely clears their marginal cost. That right there, that is the primary engine of all trade. Moving on to part 2, achieving economic efficiency, the perfect market harmony. Let's see what happens when our buyer and seller meet up naturally without any outside interference. Okay, so when a transaction clears naturally, it actually generates this kind of invisible profit that we call surplus. As the buyer, you capture consumer surplus. That's just the gap between what you were totally willing to pay and what you actually ended up paying. Nice, right? Meanwhile, the seller captures producer surplus, which is their profit margin sitting right above their cost. You add those two together and boom, you get total economic surplus. It's literally the creation of new wealth just from mutual agreement. Now, when a market maximizes that combined surplus we just talked about, it hits economic efficiency. This is a state where every single resource is perfectly, optimally allocated to serve everyone in the best way possible, all while minimizing waste. It represents this pristine, perfectly balanced state of a really healthy market. There are absolutely no missed opportunities here. Every single trade that could possibly create value has created value. And when we hit that 100% capacity, we reach maximum economic surplus. This is it. The organism is functioning flawlessly. It's firing on all cylinders with basically zero waste. It is the absolute peak of market harmony. But, as in literally any complex system, perfection is incredibly fragile. Which brings us to part 3, intervening with price controls, the plot twist. Because, of course, outside forces eventually try to step in. So governments will very often pull these mechanical levers to override that natural market equilibrium. You have a price ceiling, which legally caps what sellers are allowed to charge. Think of stuff like rent control. And then the total opposite is a price floor, which sets a legal minimum buyers absolutely must pay, like minimum wage laws, for example. And regardless of the political intent behind them, what these interventions do is forcefully alter that natural intersection of marginal benefit and marginal cost we were looking at earlier. But it's not just direct price limits. We also have to talk about taxes. This brings up something called tax incidence, which is just the division of a tax burden between buyers and sellers. And the really fascinating reality here, the burden almost never falls entirely on the person who is physically writing the check to the government. Sellers might just pass the cost right on to you through higher prices, or buyers might force sellers to eat the cost. The point is that pristine, natural harmony we built up, it inevitably shifts. And that leads us to our final section, part 4. The cost of interference, the unintended fallout. Things are about to get a bit bumpy. Because look, intervening in a perfectly balanced ecosystem practically guarantees these cascading cause and effect consequences. When you mandate ceilings or floors, you're actively blocking mutually beneficial trades. Buyers who genuinely want to buy and sellers who genuinely want to sell are suddenly legally barred from finding a middle ground. And that creates an economic shockwave. We see tax incidents shifting, deadweight loss occurring, and even illegal markets emerging. So the absolutely crucial point is right here, dead weight loss.
This is the outright fall in total economic surplus resulting from a market distortion. Remember that beautiful 100% capacity bar from earlier? Deadweight loss is exactly what chips away at it. And this is so important to grasp. It isn't just value being transferred from one person to another. No, this is value that literally just vanishes into thin air. It is wealth that is never created simply because the intervention blocked the transaction from happening at all. It's the ultimate penalty of inefficiency.
And, human nature just abhors a vacuum. When a natural market is blocked, it doesn't just disappear, it goes underground. Illegal markets emerge specifically to bypass these controls. When faced with massive shortages or artificial surpluses like the crazy gas lines back in the 1970s, or even underground speakeasies during Prohibition, buyers and sellers will actually take on huge legal risks. Why? Just to capture that lost economic surplus and complete those atomic-level transactions we talked about at the very beginning.
So it all leaves us with one really big question. Are the goals of price controls actually worth the deadweight loss? Policymakers very often step in with genuinely noble intentions, to make goods affordable or to protect people's incomes. But strictly mechanically speaking, those interventions mathematically guarantee a loss of total economic surplus. They shift burdens around, and they absolutely fuel illegal markets. Ultimately, it's up to you to weigh the intent of those policies against their inevitable, visible economic fallout. Keep questioning the mechanics happening around you, and I will see you in the next explainer.